age when someone can start using perfume?
Age, I'll answer it in two ways. One is, are your parents buying it for you?
When you say 13 plus, right, it is still a tender skin. Probably, it's the stage where the skin.
Why should I be using a deodorant versus a perfume instead? Right? And is it good for me is not something that they know. Have perfume. A person who blends different ingredients, including. And I didn't know a bouncer is going to come at me this early into the week.
Lemon, things will not get rotten, and cockroaches will not get much.
Could be powder and not the main.
Moving on to the research question. Poop, Sambrani, right? How is it useful as flower?
Don't go back and watch all those old movies where they've only shown these particular scenes.
Are we very complicated? Now this, that, right? So what are the different types that
Let's start with try to spray, body mist, a cologne or a splash. I will come to it. And something which is easy. It is a perfume in itself. Finally, longest of which.
Hi Vinay.
Morning.
Morning. So first question for the day. What were the first three things that you smelled when you woke up this day?
You have really thought that you have to jog my memory, right? Okay, so let's look at the first three things in the order of me waking up. So toothpaste is the first one. Obviously, I took bath the moment I entered into the bathroom. So body wash would be the second.
Okay.
And third, I think it's the healing candle that I have, which is of cinnamon flavor. So that would be the third one.
Amazing. So starting from there, right? Why is it a cinnamon flavor that you want to smell first?
It's fresh and it's something which I connect to morning. And to me, I think because it's one of the spices, I think it's nice to have your day start with something like an upbeat.
Okay.
Right? And then instead of it just being a normal routine, it was cinnamon, which is currently the candle that I'm using. But that doesn't mean that will be the one always in my closet. So once this is done, I love trying out new stuff. So sometimes it could be something as simple as lily, something which is jasmine, something that's rose. So it depends on just the mood, and also sometimes maybe the discount offer what is going on that specific candle.
That always takes over, isn't it?
100%. If they say especially buy one or buy two and get one free, the third one is something that I experiment.
So your mind gets used to the discounts than the smell by itself. Okay.
Absolutely.
So it is on the lighter note we have started, right? So thank you so much for joining Go Make a Difference today on a very interesting topic, fragrances, right? So everybody wants to smell good. Everybody wants to carry themselves really well with, that confidence.
Yeah.
So confidence comes up with a lot of makeup,
Yes.
maybe, of course, fragrances. And, generally they say, no, this is a CEO kind of a smell. This is a management kind of a smell. This is some local perfumes and all of that. What is it with perfumes?
Even before I could talk to you about what is it with perfumes, let me give you a disclaimer. Perfumes are not a substitute or an alternative or an excuse for you not to take bath. Okay, so to all the viewers, please take bath first, and that's, I think, extremely important. And it's not something that you cover up because today I just woke up out of my bed and I am already running late. Let me just not take a bath, let me just spray some perfume and run. So that's not something which is advisable, but yeah, I mean, of guilty, I've done that as well sometimes.
I think 99% of them would have definitely done
Correct.
that, right?
But to answer your question more on the types of perfumes, or this smells like a CEO like you mentioned, or this does not smell good, it's a very subjective topic that we're talking today, right? So everything that I speak of is something which can only be from my experience and something that I like or I dislike. someone else might say, oh my God, he likes that one, how come? Right? So two individuals are not the same. The taste is very different, and that's exactly why it's always a personal choice. But having said that, I think there are some basics that we've got. And as long as you get that right, I think you will know more or less what kind of a fragrance to choose from, right? For example, there could be notes like your base note, your heart note, or your top notes, and we will come to that when we speak more on how you identify what kind of a fragrance associates with you, and so on. But yes, I think it's a big world, and there's a lot of products out there available that makes it very versatile and very interesting for you to go out there and experiment. So feel free to do that.
That's amazing. So, when you start, what is the age when someone can start using perfumes?
I'll help you answer your question with another question. Okay, what's your first memory as a baby?
As a baby.
Yeah, it's something which is dabbed on you irrespective of where you are from,
Yeah.
and that's your powder.
Johnson's and Johnson
Perfect.
baby
See,
powder.
now I didn't have to give out a name, but your memory straight away took you to something in childhood, and you know, though you didn't know what it was, but as you grew up, you understand that this is something which is associated with everyone, right? So that's the age which you know and you understand, because your sensory organs have started to kick in at right few months maybe after you're born, right? And it starts then, and it's up to you until when you want to take it, even till your grave. And that's why it's a journey, and it's not something that you can always say, I would associate myself with just one scent for the rest of my life. It can't be that way. Yeah. The right age, I'll answer it in two ways. One is, are your parents buying it for you? Or is it being gifted? Then there isn't any choice, right? Because more or less it's like until the time you start earning for yourself and you want to spend on yourself, that's an age which is typically till you're 21 or 22, right? And beyond that, I think it's more of your choices, your affordability, something that is influenced, because there are a lot of advertisements out there and a lot of content that today people consume, and you get carried away with some you think are really good. So the age between 21 and all the way until you live, I think is a big age bracket, I can say, that is available. But this right age for you to experiment is, I think, roughly around your teenage. Okay. When you're 13 plus is when I think you can start getting exposed to what are the different kind of fragrances that are there, because until then you have no choice. Whatever your parents spray on you, you typically smell that way. Only after that is like, no, but my friend bought this in school, right? So that's the age I think it starts taking a diversion.
Right.
Yeah.
So, when you say 13 plus, right, it is still a tender skin. Probably, it's the stage where the skin starts to mature. Is it advisable for them to actually use it, or powders are good enough?
Fantastic. So, with this, I think we can touch upon to understand what are the different products out there in the first place, right? Because for somebody who is just a novice, is not going to recognize why should I be using a deodorant versus a perfume altogether, right? And is it good for me is not something that they know. They saw some celebrities spraying it with a shirt off, and they think this is how I am going to be attracting my girlfriend or my friend. So that's very natural, right? But understanding what are the different products. So first, let's say you have something as mild as a soap. Then you graduate to something a little more powerful like splashes, colognes, body washes. Third, you have something which is more to do with a stronger fragrance, more like a deodorant. And then you have a perfume in itself. Within the perfume as a product, you have multiple different variants, which we will come to that, right? But all of these are available for you out there in the market. And definitely, like you rightly said, can it harm the skin? It might, So that's the reason why you try, test and see whether this suits you or not, and just not go with something that is shown as a fancy product or something that's out there on sale for dirt cheap. And these are things that we would probably cover in do's and don'ts when we speak of. But in a short line, if I have to answer, skin type is very crucial, especially if you have to try out any fragrance product, because you're directly applying it onto your skin. So you have to be careful about knowing the ingredients, knowing what goes into it. Are you allergic to something or some kind of a chemical? All of these are important.
So it is as important as how you take a medicine, over the counter. It is as important as that, right?
Absolutely. Crocin is not the tablet for each and everything, right?
Yeah.
Same way it is for perfumes as well. You just can't say one smell can do it for all, or one brand can suit all. That's right.
That's amazing. Okay. So moving back in history, right? So perfumes and smelling good is all probably, it's been there since ages, like you said, right? So in ancient days, nowadays you have spray bottles, you have different types of things that is available. But in ancient days, what was it like? What will they actually do?
So I hope you guys don't think that this is a history class. Now let me just give you a quick example. A person who molds clay or mud into artistic products, okay, you call that pottery.
Right.
Similarly, you have perfumery. A person who blends different ingredients, including oils, including certain different kind of water in itself, or it could just be essence, or it can just even be a part of chemical or different other ingredients, right? That's perfumery. Now, perfumery is something that dates thousands of years back. It could be something from the time where you have civilizations that started, like the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Indus Valley civilizations. Not bad, I didn't know I knew 3 civilizations. Okay. So that said, it starts from there. And they didn't obviously market it the way we market it today.
Right.
But I think it was a part of their life, and they knew that we needed to smell good right from then, because what was the primary job or a profile of a human being? Hunt, eat.
Right.
These were the initial stages. Only then we evolved. Similarly, perfumery has evolved as well. Trade, I think, played a very important role, because through trade you could reach or get your product to different geographies across the world. I think that's when people started to understand, okay, this is a product which is much better than what I get here. It also depends on the different kind of things that are grown in different places across the world, right? So that's how you start to understand that people are producing what is best that is available in their region. And today, globalization, thanks to it, it's getting marketed across the world. So it is certainly way back from history.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
Well said. Can we, kind of name a couple of them that's been there from day one, and even now, if you see the previous generation, they say that, you use these couple of things. For example, sandalwood, you have the chandan powder, right? So starting from the pujas that we do at home, we still feel that gives us that fresh feeling. So every perfume, every fragrance that we have is actually associated with our internal sensory organs, if I may call it. So is that true? Because I personally feel yes, but can you just throw some light on that bit of it?
Absolutely. And I didn't know a bouncer is going to come at me this early into the video, but I'll take it up. Okay, so let's think of it this way, all right? As a person, what comes to your mind the moment you smell petrol?
I actually feel very good, because I love the smell of petrol.
Right? So your mind is going to associate certain kind of memories, and it triggers that, oh, this is how good it smells, even though you're not smelling petrol, because it's sort of memory. Straight away. The smell of ground when the first rains.
Right, yes.
And that's a beautiful feeling altogether. It straight away puts you into a romantic mood, or maybe I want to have a sip of tea and bhaji.
Bhaji, yes,
Right?
yeah.
That's the memory you associate. Similarly, perfumes or fragrances in general that we are talking about associate with a lot of these memories. So to answer the question, yes, sensory organs are going to get activated through this. That is the reason why it is being used in multiple areas of life. For example, it could be used as an aromatherapy. It could be used in different spas. It's used for different medical treatments. When you get into a hospital, it has a different kind of a
Yes,
smell,
yes.
right? So that's what you associate different medicines with, different fragrances with, and certainly to smell good, right? So all of these, yes, it
It
is
does. Okay.
connected.
So to name a few that's been there. So can we say the chandan powder, the camphor, a couple of them like that?
Definitely. And I think it's easy when you start making references to your household things.
Yes.
Not everything needs to be bottled and marketed, right? Something which is as simple as camphor, something that's as simple as a flower that is grown in the plant that you have planted at home or in your backyard or in your garden, right?
Yes.
For example, my mom, my grandmother, since we have a joint family that we stay together, I see them do this routine every single day. And I know when I pass the puja room, I get the fragrances of multiple flowers.
Right.
So this is available. Camphor, it's available. Salt has a separate smell to itself, and different salts have different fragrances by itself, right? For that matter, I wasn't sure, but someone even told me off late they're even getting flavored scented rangolis.
Oh.
That's something very new, right? So, but it's out there.
Yes.
And yes, like you pointed out, lemongrass is something which is giving you a fragrance. Lime that you use
Lime, yes.
in a day-to-day cooking, that has a fragrance. Any ingredient, be it a vegetable or even meat for that matter, has its own way of giving those particular fragrances. But what we should thank God we have a strong nose that we are able
Right,
to
right.
pick these flavors and fragrances from different
Right.
things. So there we go. Incense sticks,
Incense sticks.
for example. And I think that also depends on what kind of flour is used for the extract, the oil that is used to generate that incense stick. So that has a varied array of choices that you have.
So I have a very weird question. So how, because see, lemon, according to us, when you mention lemon, right? For me personally, it's a very tangy vegetable, right? Fruit, whatever. So when, but the same thing, if you, there is a belief that they say if you keep lemon, things will not get rotten, and cockroaches will not be there much.
Absolutely.
So how is it different for human beings and animals? Is there any difference at all?
Definitely there would be. But interestingly, I wouldn't recommend you spray, rodent spray just because you don't want any rats coming close to you or, cockroaches approaching you.
Right.
But yes, okay, chemicals that are used in certain ingredients, that are used in certain products, are being researched, have gone through a detailed process, and they understand what keeps away things. Let's take example, in olden days or in many villages even till date in India, people use cow dung as one of the
right.
main, what do you call that, as a part and parcel
Yeah,
of your daily life to
Lives.
keep the flies away or any insects away from that, right? And it dates back there. So you start to understand that, oh, okay, if I do this, these things do not come. And it's only through observation, experiment is how all of these have evolved. But yeah, that said, it's very natural that everything is already around you, but do you have the skill to go ahead and extract and make it into something that is usable? You may not. And it's not something that every household can do it in a day in, day out process.
Right.
That is the reason why it is much easier to just go out in the market, pick up
Buy
what you
the
want,
bottle and come
buy
back.
it and
Right. All
yeah.
right.
There you
So moving on, can you just tell what are the advantages of wearing a perfume? What are the advantages of smelling good, basically?
Absolutely. I think it's proven that it helps you release anxiety, stress, and a whole lot of advantages when it comes to this being a form of therapy in itself. Not just that, it helps you carry a lot of memory. Okay, the feeling of freshness. For example, you go to a salty beach. All beaches are salty, I know, but yet, right? So you get that fragrance of a salt, right? And that's therapy, right? That's an advantage. So I'm just trying to link something which is around you, which can naturally be a healer, right? And the confidence that you get when you smell good, you know that in between 10 different people, you have that special confidence that you can carry with. The personality that you go with, that changes quite a lot. What other advantages? If everything given is the same between two individuals, but one is smelling good and one is not, you will naturally be attracted to the one who is smelling good, right?
Yeah.
And that's in itself an advantage. So that's why it is so important for us to understand the kind or the choice of perfumes that you choose or the fragrances that you pick as an individual.
That's amazing. So moving on to a little sensuous question. The dupe, sambrani that we say, right? How is it useful as a love enhancer?
Fantastic. Don't go back and watch all those old movies where they've only shown these particular scenes, and probably our memory of, oh, this is what they used for enhancing this particular mood is probably right. And it is those days how they used to go ahead and enhance a particular fragrance or the mood in a specific room or your living area, and different ingredients give you a different kind of a feeling, right? You would never feel romantic using a toothpaste.
Right.
Will you? Right. You would, same thing if you take a body wash or you find your partner coming out of a shower smelling fresh, it enhances a different kind of a fragrance altogether and a mood altogether.
Right.
So Samrani, camphor, or not camphor specifically,
Yeah.
but it is certainly something which was available in plenty those days, something that people used it because it was known. This is how to use this, and by word of mouth, through generations to generations, that is how it is treated. Even in our households, if you see a baby, after bathing, the hair is being dried using many of these particular techniques, right? Because they want that healing to take place. They want the baby to enhance all the specific organs. In same way, as you grow, I think this is how it acts upon you.
Yeah, but having said that, are we complicating it? Because way back then, right, it was available without not much of chemicals. I wouldn't say no chemicals, not much of chemicals.
True.
But these days, chemicals are taking over, right?
Yes.
So are we really complicating this, or
I
is it
wouldn't
really
say
required?
complicating, but I would say people need to cater to different requirements, right? Now, if I want everything that is organically grown, everything that is naturally going to help me, do I have 30 minutes to sit and enjoy that dupe in front of me? I don't have that time. But can I get that same thing in a bottle, just spray it and smell fresh? I can. So how am I going to replicate something which is naturally available into something which is usable? And that is where research comes in. Yes, I would say certain chemicals are used, but many of them are not really harmful to you, right? Because they are tried, tested, they are experimented, and only after which there are world standards that you have to meet for your product to go ahead and be released out in the market in the first place. So only after all of those which it has certified is when a product is going to be made available to you. Yes, some of them do not follow strict and stringent ones, but I think to spot answer that specific question, I don't think we are complicating it, but we are making it more diverse because the needs of a man, when I say man, it is humanity in general, right, is not limited. It's unlimited. I want to smell this today, I want to smell something different today, what next, what next, what next? And as you are evolving and as you are improving, things have to catch up to you to meet your requirements.
Right.
That's right.
Very well said. So, when you say global standards, right? So, for any medicine or for any ORS, for example, we say WHO standard ORS. Is there any standard like that for perfumes?
I wouldn't know a specific authority that would say this is the only thing which can certify. I think it's more based towards the countries that market these particular products. Okay, America might have their own standards, Europe might have their governing authority that would certify and say this is what you have to follow up on, and India might have its own, right? But yes, there is somebody governing it,
It is
almost
there.
all the time.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I
there's no
wouldn't say-
global standard as such,
Yeah.
but there is a governing body.
Absolutely.
Got it. All right. Okay. In the market, out there are plenty that are available from this to that, right? So what are the different types that are available?
It's an interesting way that you put that question across. So types, certainly let's start with something that's available right in your bathroom, right? We start with something which is as simple as a spray, okay? Not the toilet spray, I'm talking about just your body mist or something which is as light as that. You have a soap. You've got your body wash, which is nothing but a liquid version of your soap, right? Beyond this, you have a body mist, which is slightly more stronger. After that, you have a cologne or a splash. Typically for men, you use that as an aftershave is what you would call that as. Then you have something called as EDT, which we will come to it, and something which is EDP. What's the difference between these, right? And then there's a perfume in itself. And finally, the strongest of which is your elixir or an extract, which is extremely powerful and strong and long lasting. Those are the different types of products. Of course, deodorants in between, and deo sticks. People just marketing each of these things in different ways of using the same product. Okay.
I swear I didn't know there were so many available.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like chocolate, right? Chocolate, you have milk chocolate, you have chocolate with almonds, you have a dark chocolate, then you have chocolate that's imported, and then you have percentage of chocolates that are dark.
Yes, yes.
Just like that, I think perfumes are interesting as well.
Okay. So now that you've mentioned the types, can you just elaborate a little bit, and what is it? How should it be used as well?
Certainly, okay. How should it be used is interesting because most people, they spray it on their clothes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's definitely a no-no. And I say that only because you do not know what kind of extracts and oils or ingredients are in that bottle that you're spraying from, and that can create a mark on your fabric.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, it's meant for you to use on your body, on your skin.
Even the perfumes.
Even the perfumes. Perfumes, in fact, definitely on the skins.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
And it's not something that you just spray it over on the clothes here and there because that's what is going to give you a projection. That's a wrong way of doing it ideally. So we will start with understanding how the hierarchy grows. That will make it easier probably to define, right? So, and it could probably answer one particular question which many people have, that I want to smell good for a longer time.
Yes.
But I'm not knowing how or why my spray or my perfume or my deodorant just fades away so quickly.
Right.
Right? So we start with something as mild as soap. Harmless, because it's 2 to 4% of essential oils, that is a concentrate that is available in a soap, right? Something which is a little more longer lasting will be your moisturizers, will be the creams that you would use, and that is something which is extremely important for you to create a layer because it helps you keep your skin moist, right? And that would typically be between the range of 3 to 5%. And then you've got your aftershaves. Now, for example, you would see straight away what's the kind of alcohol percentage that's marked. That's close to 96%.
96%, yes.
If you don't have money to buy booze, don't drink this. You'll certainly go ahead and land up in a different place. Okay, so, but on that serious note, for example, an Old Spice, which is like an aftershave, it is something which is antiseptic, which is making sure that it heals the burns that you have or the cuts that it could cause. It would have been caused while you're shaving for men. So that you use straight away to make sure that you're negating all the effects of it, right? So you're using an aftershave, but that's not something that you want to smell throughout the day. And in fact, you see, within the 5 minutes of you using an aftershave, it fades away, right? So that's your aftershave. So then you've got your colognes, all right, which is meant to smell fresh, something which is going to give you that aquatic kind of a feeling, right? And then you've got EDT for an example. By the way, I'm not promoting any brands over here.
Yeah.
Just as an example, so you would see that it's written as Ude to let, right?
right.
So this is typically used for something where it controls your odor,
Okay.
right, on your skin, particularly when you go to a gym or when you're working out. You wouldn't want to use a stronger perfume because you are in close proximity of people around you. You do not want somebody trying to lift weights smelling you and just falling off, right?
Correct, right.
So this is mild. It would have somewhere between 5 to 10% of the extract. So this is EDP, in other way that you call it. So this would have anywhere between 15% to 20% is what we look at. Okay, that's the kind of a mix or the essence that it has, just the perfume,
Okay.
right? So this would have anywhere above 20%, and that's why it would last much longer. And that is exactly how it would give you a projection which is for many hours.
Oh, should we use everything every day?
Not at all. A simple thing like this, like a deo stick, you use this because the primary objective of this product is to control odor. It is not for you to smell great.
Okay.
So the purpose is different. Okay. Similarly, deodorant, the purpose is to control the odor. Okay. That's why it is deodorant, right? But it's not something that is meant as a product always to go ahead and just spray wherever you want and smell good, though people use it
Right.
in general, right? So you must understand that it's evolved, and we know that where you spray these matters a lot, correct? So coming to that, understanding that a spray or a liquid form today you call more or less like, you have mists which are longer lasting in the bottle but not necessarily on you, correct? So that's something that you have to be mindful about to understand, is this going to suit me? What's my purpose? Am I a person in the field on sales? Am I traveling through places through public transport? I do not want to go ahead and be smelling too
Right.
awkward or too strong. So all of these matter quite a lot.
Now you've given a gist as to what are the types of perfumes, right? So how do we use all of these? There are plenty available, right? How do we go about it?
Absolutely. So just understand the purpose and what it's meant for. For example, if you want to control your odor, you use a deo stick or a deodorant. And if you want to go ahead and smell not too loud into somebody's face, right, but just want to have that good, nice, pleasant aroma, you use EDT, which is not too concentrated, right? If you are working in an office, I think an EDT or an EDP is still fine because you're in a controlled environment within an AC environment as such, right? So you don't perspire so much, you don't sweat much, because of which whatever you wear is good enough for it to last much longer, right? And finally, you have something which is really strong, like the extracts, the perfume in itself, or you call it the parfum or the elixir, right, which is extremely concentrated. And that is on special occasions where you really want to make a statement or you want to say, I have arrived, right? That's when you would be using. And the final one, which we call it as an elixir. So just to summarize, it would be something as light as a cologne, even basic if you want to start, it's a soap or a body wash, and then you moisturize, then you have the cologne, after that is your EDT, then you have your EDP, and then it's a perfume, and finally you have the elixir.
Okay. So that gives me a lot of knowledge about,
Absolutely.
the hierarchy of perfumes,
Yes.
right? All right. So now moving on to the next stage. So you have told that these are the various things that are perfumes that are available. So how do we have to use all of them so that it lasts long?
Wonderful. Okay. First of all, don't spray it on your clothes.
Okay.
I would say the don't first.
Yeah.
Why? Because clothes are not something which are meant for it to carry different ingredients and the different smells or the different fragrances or the extracts that are there. So you might spoil a designer outfit just because you sprayed something onto it and it didn't go well. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but are you telling that it's the case even for the highest form of the perfume or the elixir that you had told?
Good question there, but no. The reason why, because the ingredients that are used in the designer fragrances are of a much higher quality. It does not stain your clothes.
Okay.
It does not leave any marks behind, neither would it give you any kind of an impression of itchiness or some kind of a discomfort, right? So I would not only tag that to the higher brands or the designer brands, any good brand for that matter, okay? And cost is not something that defines that. Okay, there are a lot of particular perfumes that you get which are still cloth friendly, but typically it is to be worn on your skin. Okay.
So moving on, right? How can one choose the right perfume?
Good question. I would give you probably a generic answer on how can you get it right as a process to reach there, because I don't know which is the right perfume for a specific person, and that's something which is personalized and something which you try by yourself. So how you do this is very simple. A perfume has three things. It's made up of a base note, it's made up of a middle note or a hearty note that we call it as, and finally it's made up of a top note.
Okay.
Okay. Now the top note is what you smell first.
Okay.
Right, and that's something which is the initial impression that you get as soon as you smell a particular fragrance, right? And this is typically something like herbs, citrus. These are the kind of ingredients that are used. The middle note kicks in once the top note fades away,
Okay.
and that's something which lasts slightly longer, and that's how it's the hearty note of that specific perfume, right? And I would give that to you in a moment with an example. And this core scent that we call as the middle note is something which is usually a fruity flavor, or it could be floral fragrances. That's what it's typically going to be. Base note is like when you're through the end of the day, how is it that you still want to be smelling, or what is that most strengthening ingredient in that particular composition? That's your base note, right? And this typically would be something like a woody, musk, amber. These kind of fragrances are used so that it projects much longer, and that's what the base note is all about. For example, now if you do see, I'm just showing it to you maybe later to the camera, in any perfume bottle that you actually pick up, they do mention something which is a base note. It's cedar wood, leather, acrid, right? Heart note, you have this as orris, fig, tree roots, acrid. And similarly, you've got the top notes, which is mandarin and incense. And how is it that you would sense? You would just take a whiff of this and you will smell the incense first.
Okay.
Right? So that's what you smell the moment you spray it. And then on, it changes the way it smells on you depending on the notes it's comprising of, right? So check out what are these particular ingredients which suit well for you, and I think over a period of time you will know, oh, I want a perfume which has A, B, C, D as an ingredient. I want it to have citrus, I want it to have apple, I want it to have this floral fragrance, or I want it to have this woody fragrance. So that brings us to understand how you can choose the right perfume.
Okay, interesting. All right.
And the next one would be, so perfume
Fake.
families. You spoke of so many ingredients, right? What are the different perfume families or categories?
Okay. That is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Right. First of all, I didn't know a perfume will have so many notes. So then, having said that, what are the different perfume families then? It should be, tagged to some group of things, right? So what are they?
Absolutely. So that makes it very versatile and easy, right? So for example, a floral as one of the families, typically anything that's to do with your flowers like rose, jasmine, lily, lavender. All of these fall into this specific category of floral notes. Second family would be something which is oriental. For example, that could be spices, amber, or it could be resins. These would fall into the category of the oriental family.
Okay.
Then family number 3 that we have would be woody. Anything to do with sandalwood, cedar wood, okay, different other woods that are actually used as an essence, that would be a woody family. And then you have a fresh family which is more so to do with lemony, mandarin, citrus, these kind of fragrances, they fall into the fresh family as such. And then fruity. Why should we leave the fruits alone? We've taken the wood, we've taken the flowers, we've taken wood,
Right.
we've taken multiple things, right? So definitely fruity, which is more like a cherry, an apple, a watermelon fragrance, okay,
right.
mango, multiple different fruits that can be blended, mixed, extracted and used. So those belong to the fruity family. And finally you also have gourmand, something which is more like a vanilla, chocolate or coffee,
Right.
right? So these are your gourmand products, which are another family in itself. So a quick summary, it could be floral, oriental, fruity, woody and gourmand. These are the kind of families,
Predominant families.
Of course anybody mixing these two can create a new family,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, this is typically where
It's a crossbreed.
it's a crossbreed, yes.
Okay, all right. With so many different permutations and combinations, how do you actually identify which is the fake perfume and which is the real one?
Anything that I wear is real one, anything that others wear is, okay, I was just kidding. No, okay, so yes, out there it's very difficult to go ahead and make a difference, make out the difference between what is fake and what is not, okay. Of course many people have burned their fingers that way, okay, but something which is basic is the packaging. You will replicate something, but there are trademarks. If you really look for it, you get to know that the trademark is sometimes at the bottom of a bottle, such as this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, or it could be something like the spelling in itself is incorrect.
Right.
But your mind is so good at reading even incorrect spellings that you tend to fall and think of it as something which is
Right.
real, correct? So spellings are different. Packaging, that is one thing which I spoke of. The third is in itself, when you shake the specific bottle, you see the bubbles settle down quicker. But if it is leaving like a foamy kind of a feeling, or the bubbles are not settling down at all, you know it's a mixture, more or less.
Oh.
Right? So that's something. Third, if you're spraying it on any particular surface, you know it's going to take effect by giving you a rash or an itch. That's one other difference about real perfumes, don't do that. Okay, so but the fake ones tend to give you a discomfort. Okay, that's one other way of identifying. And if it's too good to believe it's true, it's a fake. Okay, because you cannot go ahead and expect a perfume that is originally priced at 13 to 14, 15,000 a bottle, selling for 2,000 rupees on any sale,
Even at a
any
90%
website,
discount.
even in a 90% discount, right? So watch out for those particular ads. It's not going to be true most cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we are there in the shop, I go to a very probably a branded showroom, right? What should I look at first?
You first look at the variety that they have. It's not that you go with a closed mindset that, or of course if you know your favorite fragrance, you'll straight away go and say, I want a bottle of Dior Sauvage, for example, or a Chanel 5 or whatever it could be, right? But if you're going with an open mind, what you have to look for is to understand, how is this going to smell on me? And when they spray it on you, don't have to be so quick about judging or making a decision of buying it straight from the shelf, right? You would start looking for things which are, am I getting sold a sealed product, or is it something which is open? Did the representative open that product in front of me? Or was it probably just something which is used 2-3 times and just kept it? Most good stores, branded stores, are always authentic. I would vouch for that. But it's always, as a customer, good for you to be watchful for these things, right? In addition to that, don't hesitate when you want to make a decision after a few hours, because if you are typically in a mall, you will spend 2 to 3 hours anyways there, right? So you spray it and wait for those few hours to see whether you really liked that, did it stay or not. And you can always tell them, if this is going to be lasting for 4 hours, I will then come back and buy it.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because it's very easy that you get sold, sir, this smells amazing, and then the top note is so enriching, and then you get into that zone of being, mesmerized with that fragrance, and you say, I think it's the time that I want to buy it right now, right? And I think go slow, understand what it is, use it, or test these in different times of the days, right? And that's very important. Sometimes the same fragrance, when you spray it in the morning, is very different how it smells than when you spray in the evening or after you sweat.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Okay, so that's something that you need to watch out for.
Okay.
How do you decide how to gift a perfume?
Okay, so we'll...
next question I'll ask.
Yeah, next question would probably be about do's and don'ts. So, or where do you spray?
Where do you spray?
We didn't cover that.
We didn't finish it fully,
Specifically.
right? Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So now that I have gone, I have selected my perfume. Where do I spray and how do I spray?
Don't go creating a cloud mist. Okay, so that's what people show in ads, because they want your mind to see something coming out of a nozzle or an atomizer, that we call it as, right? So that's something which you have to know where to spray. So pulse points are where you spray your perfumes. Deodorants are used underarms. Deo stick is used at certain points in your bodies which will generate the sweat, because they are cutting down or controlling that specific odor. That's why you use it underarms or places where you typically sweat a lot. That's where you use your deos mainly, okay, deodorants. But if it's a perfume, you use it on pulse points. Where all do you check if somebody is alive or dead? So you check, one point is here, which is right at the nape of your neck. Second point is right under your ear, which is over here, right, on both the sides. The third point are your wrists. Another thing you have to be mindful about is it coming in contact with your watch? Your watch is made of a different metal. Is that leaving some kind of a stain or some kind of a rash? And that depends on perfume to perfume again, but that's definitely a spot. And a quick trick for someone who doesn't want to do that, just spray it on the opposite side. That is still workable. Behind your knees, which is this area, is again one specific spot which you could use to go ahead and spray. And other than these, collarbones. Okay.
Okay.
Whole point is you want your fragrances on the upper part of your body, because people are at that height, right? You're not looking at people stooping down and smelling you right down there, right? So that's why you like to keep it always up and keep it always airy. So it's mostly here. Now you'll obviously ask me how many sprays.
Yes.
Okay. That look was like, oh, I'm going to be asking. Okay, so one spray each is good enough. Okay, and that makes a lot of a difference. So put together, I think 6 sprays is more than enough, is what I would say. One right here, one right at the back of your neck, 2 which are under your ears, and 2 on the wrists. Should give it complete. Okay, and that's more than enough for you. But if you just on a different occasion want to smell a little more stronger, or probably your perfume is not going to last that long and it needs more of sprays, then yes, I would go for elbows, inner elbows mainly. That's another spot that you could use, and around the neck more or less. Yeah.
Okay. So when you said that, right, people just want to see you only on top, right? But when it comes to your personal space, right, you will have to smell good top to toe.
Yes.
Top, yes. How do you take care of the bottom then?
That is why taking bath is important. Okay. Because most of these particular places, all right, I mean, different parts of the body has a different smell that it generates, correct? So staying clean, that's why soap works on your inner parts or on your private parts, mainly because it's very mild, and even the skin tone around these areas are not the same as over here. Correct? Because some days I have known where I have sprayed a particular perfume, even after taking bath the next day I can still smell it.
Right.
So it goes into your skin sometimes, and it's not going to harm you anyways, don't worry. It's not
Yeah,
going
that
into your
was-
blood,
yeah.
bloodstream and things like that. Okay, these are well tested, and they know what its job is. Okay, so that's where it is. But how do you take care of the bottom parts? To answer that, mainly I think it is to stay clean. Okay, wear clean clothes. Some of us, especially people who wear denims, the same denim
I'm wearing one
over,
right now.
over a few weeks. I know there's a whole lot of controversy on that. We'll say denims are meant to be worn 10 times and only then you have to wash.
Right.
Okay, that's fine as long as you don't smell odd. It's absolutely good. Okay, but otherwise know that a good fabric cleanser that you're using while you wash your clothes can itself take care of making sure it neutralizes or gives a good fragrance for whatever you wear as part of the clothes. Otherwise, if you know you're going for a gym, you would spray it behind your knees as well, right? Typically you don't sweat more in the bottom part of your body. It's more of perspiring on the top portion of your body. So
Okay.
that should answer. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Interesting.
Okay.
So,
Can we go through the do's and don'ts?
no, I have a question before that.
I have one more question. How do you find out that you're smelling bad? Many people don't realize it.
Yeah, ask that question. Okay.
Okay, before that, I want to ask one more. Okay, so there are a lot of, when you said be clean, right? So there are a lot of wash that's available in the market right now. How safe is it? Because, see, generally your private parts are very sensitive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So how safe is it for us to use those kinds that are available?
Perfect. So my partner uses V-Wash, for example,
Exactly,
right? These are dermatologically tested and they are safe for you to go ahead and use. So no doubt about it. Can I be the master of giving an opinion on every product? I am not,
Okay.
qualified to do that. But in general, yes, they are skin friendly. And I think if you develop a habit over a period of your time, your body adapts to what you're giving in, and that is how you also become reactive. Correct? Because if you're someone who maintains hygiene as part of a daily routine, you tend not to smell bad.
True.
Right? Even if you miss a day of bath in between, it may not still make that much of a difference. Right? So, yeah.
Okay. So how can one actually identify that they're smelling bad?
So don't do.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way, of course. All right. But yeah, that you can't do in public. It's very awkward. It's very embarrassing. Correct. The odor comes out only when you know you will feel a sweat. Typically, you will feel the wetness or dampness that we call on the skin. Okay, especially in your inner parts or usually underarms or on the chest or on the back. Especially these are places. Take an example: if you're traveling in a cab to a work. 1.5 hours in Bangalore traffic, everybody has odor.
Right.
By the time you reach, right? So that said, all right, the easiest way is if you have a trusted friend, ask the person. Don't shy away to check. Hey, do you think that I'm actually, projecting some odor, or do I smell good? Is that fine? Can you give me an honest opinion? Don't shy away from asking your trusted people, because once they accept you as a person who wants to smell good, I think they'll start taking a liking more towards you, in fact, right? So that's one way. Second, like I said, the sweat, that's number one. Number two, the third is stains that you might sometimes find, especially for women during periods sometimes, right? And blood getting disposed out of your body is not a pleasant smell that you would want to experience. So that's why today sanitary pads are coming with fragrances, right? So that's one other thing. The other way of knowing whether you're smelling bad or not, typically you by yourself may not be smelling bad, but sometimes the people around you, if they are unhygienic, you're traveling in a public transport, or if you're traveling in a crowded train or a bus, and 10 people around you have not used any deodorants, especially these people who are hanging onto the rods in the bus, and then you typically know you will catch it more or less. Okay, so the best way to deodorize yourself, take a saltwater bath. I think that's something which is extremely meaningful, something that's been followed for ages. It just not helps you in keeping you neutral, it also gets your energy levels back up, right? So make sure that you lock your energies, and that's the easiest. That's why people say the moment you come back from a play as kids, snana mado,
Yes.
which will be like go take bath, right? Typically, so that's how it happens. So maintaining that hygiene is extremely important. Yeah.
Okay. So, perfumes are always a choice for gift. How do you gift someone a perfume?
So if I would have to answer that straight away, let me tell you, until you know that the person has spelt out, this is the perfume that I love and I wish I had that, but have not bought it yet, right? That's a safe bet. But otherwise, personally, if you ask me, I would never gift a perfume bottle to someone. Why? Because they may like it or they may not like it. And imagine you spent a good 8 to 9,000, 10,000 bucks on a perfume bottle, and then they'll be like, oh, I like the EDP version of that. You just got me the EDT. This only smells for 4 hours. I need something that lasts for 8 hours. So that kind of a conversation can typically happen, right? The third thing is you do not know people's skin types, right? And what you think is safe or affordable or got it on a discount sale may not be a product which is suitable for the other person. So that's why it's good if you refrain from gifting perfumes unless you know that the person likes a flower fragrance, something on these notes, or anything by a specific designer is something that this person likes, right? So then it's a safe bet, and I would say go ahead and gift it. Anyways, Valentine's Day is round the corner, right? So why don't you go ahead and do the right choice of gifting the right fragrance?
So there is no universal perfume that
There isn't a
that you
universal.
can. Okay.
Yeah, and the top 10 for someone could not even probably be in a list of
List.
something else that someone
Absolutely.
else likes, right?
Absolutely.
But
Okay. So if you have to just give me 5 do's and don'ts while buying a perfume, what would they be?
all right, so let's go ahead and take this on. Okay, so 5 do's. Number 1, know where to spray. As I said, the pulse points that we checked, those one spray on each pulse point is more than enough. The second is spray it on wet or damp skin. Okay, that's when it's going to make it last longer. So please moisturize your skin and then apply your perfume. So which means pick up a moisturizer which is neutral and doesn't have a strong fragrance of its own, because then it will come in contact with your fragrance and it is going to create a baby of a different fragrance altogether, right? So it's good to experiment, but yeah, typically choose something that's neutral. That's the second one. The third would be to learn to understand the different families of fragrances that we spoke about. Mixing them is fine as long as you know and you exactly know that this is liked by someone, or you know it works, because you're taking something which is very subtle and mixing it with something which is very strong may not be the exact composition. And the fourth one, keep an eye always on discounts and sales, because these perfumes do come under multiple offers, and I think you would, if you finalized on which one that you want, it's always nice to pick it up at the best price that you can get. And the fifth one, to safeguard your perfumes, you have to keep it in a dry place, something away from direct sunlight. A closet is best. That's where you would keep your perfume. So the 5 do's: know where to spray. Second is spray it on wet or damp skin or moisturized skin. Third would be to understand the perfume fragrance families. Fourth is to keep an eye on discounts and know when to pick up which particular brand from where.
Okay.
Fifth is keep it in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight.
Amazing.
Now let's talk about the don'ts. Okay, don't spray a cloud mist. There are a lot of people who spray it in thin air. They create a mist and walk into it, thinking that, I am going to get them all over me and I am going to smell like a walking, talking perfume bottle. Okay, so that's something which you shouldn't be doing because you're wasting everything in thin air. Okay. Second is, don't mix fragrances unless you're very sure of how they smell. Third is, don't spray too much. You would like to be smelling good and not be a rodent for people where they want to run away from you, right? So sometimes it's too heavy. Some of these can give you a headache. So don't spray too much. The fourth would be, don't gift a perfume unless you know the person really well, which we spoke about. And finally, the fifth, don't spray it on clothes. I would never do that. It's meant for skin. So spray your perfumes on skin. Okay. If I have to give you a bonus tip, don't keep it on that dressing table because I'm telling you, you're going to drop it. Another way to be careful about the fake versus the authentic perfumes are typically the fake ones sometimes tend to leave a red spot or small boils, or it could leave a rash on your skin. And over a period of time, if you've been using it 3-4 times, you'll start to sense that your skin texture is a little different from where it is elsewhere, and that should not happen, right?
Okay.
And fake perfumes can lead to that, right? So you identify that, okay, this is something which I have to be careful about and not buy it maybe from that vendor or from that specific brand, and that's how you safeguard yourself. The other way of looking at it is, probably the product is still authentic, but are you a person who is allergic to some ingredient which is used in that specific product, right? There are multiple ones, like a specific set of flowers that you may not be okay with, or is it some kind of wood that you're not okay with? Is it some kind of an extract which you think your skin is not going to cope with? Can it be nutmeg? Is it peppers? Is it cardamom? Chamomile doesn't go well on me, or something like a cinnamon, or something which is strong like a musk, or something that I have allergies to. And if that's something that you know, I think you should avoid buying fragrances which have these as their compositions.
So, multiple stores, online, offline, malls, even on roads, everywhere we have shops for perfumes, right?
Correct.
So, can you tell us a couple of authentic places where we can buy perfumes?
Certainly. If I have to, perfume to me personally is something which I would like to go in person and buy it, okay? Unless I know that my bottle is getting empty and it's the same thing which I want to repurchase. For ease of convenience, I might pick the second one online, right? Because I know a proper store or an authentic seller, right? Malls typically have authentic sellers like Shoppers Stop, Lifestyle, Parcos, or Sephora, for example. All of these, Bath and Body Works, okay? These typically places where you get original products from. Okay, so that's safe buy, and their own